Today we're going to be talking about the real reason why you're not getting any clients. What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs. Welcome back to the Dreadlabs podcast. It's been a while since the last episode. In today's podcast episode, we are going to drop some harsh truth bombs. The reason for that is I get a lot of DMs saying, hey, how do I get my first client, or why do I not get any clients whatsoever? And I think that there's usually an apparent reason for that, because it's mostly the same type of designers that send me this question. And it's probably not going to be the longest episode here, but I do think that some of you out there need to hear this. Before we actually get into the matter, I just wanted to let you know that I'm probably going to sound a little bit harsh here. I hope you don't take it personally. I don't mean to offend anyone. I just want to point out a reason why you might not be getting any clients whatsoever. So let's talk about what kind of designers are sending me this question. Usually it's on Instagram in my DMs. It's designers that have between 0 and 200 followers on Instagram, and the stuff that they post is, I'm just gonna straight up say it. It's basically most of the design work that you see on there is a tutorial that they followed and then just posted it. And usually it's around either 3 to maybe 12 posts. So I'm just going to go over a couple of the things that might be the reason why you're not getting any clients. So the first thing is, if you only have 3 to 12 posts, that probably means that you have only made that many pieces of work that you're actually proud of. And I don't think that if you are at that point or at that stage as a graphic designer, you just learn a couple of things through tutorials and you have 12 things to show, you got to think, what is that going to say to a client? Because if I was a potential client and I would see that, that wouldn't show me any assurance that you would have done enough in order to know what you're doing. If you have a design account that has over 100 posts and posters and designs and stuff like that, client work on your Instagram page, that gives a lot more assurance that you actually are capable of doing projects. And I'm not saying here that you should have had 100 clients before you get your first client, of course. That doesn't make any sense. This can also just be 100 self-contained projects. When I had my design account, I think I had over 40 or 50 posts before I got my first DM of someone who was interested in working with me through Instagram. And the next big hurdle, I think this is the biggest hurdle, is, like I said, most of the stuff looks like you just followed a tutorial and that's what you posted. And this is the harsh question. Most of these tutorials that I see, or I'm just going to call them tutorial works, most of the tutorial works that I've seen on these Instagram pages is from really, really big tutorial videos. Some of them even are from one of my tutorials that have over 50,000 views. And that begs the question, if over 50,000 people saw it and know how to do it, what makes you so special, and why should they work with you if you just follow that tutorial? And I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with following a tutorial and sharing the result of that on your Instagram, because that shows that you actually are willing to grow and learn. But what would probably be way better is if you could see what you learned from that tutorial and combining that with the knowledge that you already have of Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever. So by combining the knowledge that you've gained from watching all of these tutorials, and then of course combining that with your own creativity, that would probably result in more original work and better work as well. Because if you follow a tutorial that's like 20 minutes long and you worked on that for 20 minutes, then you're basically just going to be showing 20-minute work. And if you work on something a little bit longer, try to perfect it a little bit more, then you can also really see the effort that you've put in a design piece. And that's what I think is one of the biggest differences between a graphic design account that's between 0 and 200 followers and between like some of these designers that are already a little bit further along the way, because there's also, of course, a lot of design accounts that are like around 1,000 followers. And you can see that these people use the knowledge that I learned from tutorials and took their own spin on it because they know a lot more. They grabbed that knowledge that they already had, used their own creativity, and combine all sorts of techniques in order to create work that looks more like their own. Of course, this might be a little bit hard when you just start out, but the important thing here is that you can do this over and over again and you practice more and more. And you know what happens when you practice more and more? You get more results. If you do this over 50 times, the 50th time will look a lot better than the first time, of course. But this will also mean that you will now have 50 different works instead of 9 or 3. So if you do it like that, you don't only practice your craft and become better at what you do and start learning to adapt to whatever it is that you're designing, you'll also have a lot more volume of works to showcase on your Instagram portfolio. And that will also show your potential clients a little bit more that you have worked on more projects than just 2 or 3. So there's probably a lot more reasons that you're not getting any clients, and we can go into those in future podcast episodes. But of course, the next big hurdle, and it's kind of ironic because we've talked about it for the whole episode, and that's you're only showing your work on Instagram. And what's also another big thing is that probably a lot of the people that are following you on Instagram are people that you've met in the design space, or people following you through a hashtag or something like that. And if people like that follow you, that basically means that your competition is following you and not your potential clients. Why would one designer hire another designer? And of course, that can be the case if someone is looking to outsource work or something like that. But generally, your potential clients maybe aren't living on Instagram anymore, especially during the Reel era here. So what might be helpful is get some business card printed and start local, or try to make a portfolio website and sending that portfolio website to other people or companies or labels or whoever you want to work for. But if you constrain your work to an Instagram page, there's just a really big possibility that your potential clients aren't finding you. So a quick little recap of what we've discussed so far. So you're probably not getting any clients because you have not posted enough yet, and because you've posted a little bit generic work because you followed a lot of tutorials. And the way to fix that is to use the knowledge that you gain from those tutorials, combining with knowledge from other tutorials, your own knowledge and your own creativity, and start using that to practice more and more and create more volume of your work and show that you grow as an artist. Next to that, also showcase your work where your potential clients are living. So not only on Instagram, but also perhaps on Behance. Maybe Behance isn't really a good example because there's also a lot of designers on there, but your own portfolio website locally. Perhaps you should print a demo book of some sort and send that to a potential client or something like that. It doesn't really matter as long as you know where your clients are living and you are confident enough that your work will actually benefit your potential clients. So this was a rather short episode, but I think this is something that should be discussed. And I think if you start doing this right, you are actually going to stand out compared to other designers, and that's when clients will actually start finding you. Perhaps in a future episode, we can also start talking about how to reach clients. If your work is good enough, what can you do in order to reach certain clients online? But for now, I think these truth bombs had to be dropped a little bit, and I hope I didn't offend anyone. I just think that some people should really hear it because everyone deserves a chance at having a great design career, and I think that this has to be said in order to take the next step, if that makes sense. So if this is the first video or podcast that you checked out, I do have a full YouTube channel containing over 500 videos that will help you become a better designer or visual artist. I also have a web shop where you can support me and my channel and grab some great assets such as textures, vector packs, and more. You can also support me on my Patreon channel in order to get access to all of the project files from all of my tutorials. So with all of that being said, this is Tom from Dreadlabs. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and hopefully see you guys in the next podcast episode.